This week's channel message from Isla, the mother of creation, is for all of us, regardless of where we are on our spiritual journey. It is a beautiful explanation of how to start to embody and embrace new earth right now, of how we can start to stretch our consciousness. She says it's available to us, that we can start doing this now. And she gives us really clear, beautiful instructions on how to do it. So, and I did it this morning. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad that you are here. Thank you so much for sharing the message with me. And for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel, deep trance channel, which means I go into a deep meditative state, like a trance, and from there I connect. I channel the angels as well as Isla, who is the mother of creation. She's the mother of all souls. So, and I channel, and I share the messages that come through. There's healing, there's information, and I share it with you every Friday here on YouTube. So this week's message is about joy. And it is what I love about it is saying that we are ready now, that we are in an energy now where we can begin to experience these heightened states of consciousness. And it's giving us an idea of how to do it. And what I love about it is that it isn't a thing where you have to like sit and meditate in a cave by yourself and chant for like 5 hours. It's not that. It is little bites, little bits, and it's easy. And it's deceptively easy. And that's the trick, is that I think we build it up to be something that is like, wow, this big thing. And then that puts it on a pedestal, and anything on a pedestal you can never reach. So this is that idea that bringing it back into, no, you can do this now. And Isla in the message is saying that. She's saying you can do this now. And then she shows us how to do it. And I did it this past week, like the last 2 days. I had a dream about it, and then I felt it this morning. So I'm going to share all that with you guys. Yeah, it's super exciting. But then I have to tell you, of course, because like all things are in perfection. You guys know we have our weekend coming up, which we're calling the Lift Your Light Weekend. Well, I knew when we talked about doing this weekend, I knew that I was feeling the urge or the need to do something that was joyful, that brought us back into joy, and that just gave us that support, that feeling of being in a positive vibration. And I thought it was just, oh, there's a lot of negativity in the world. And now I realize, now that this message has come through, no, it's actually much more than that. That it's actually that we actually need healing around our capacity to feel joy. And that is what will happen over the weekend. And so I just didn't get all the pieces before. Sometimes they reveal to them to me a bit at a time. But now that we've received this message, I understand the connection, and I just see the divine pathway through all of this, which is that feeling joy is going to be our pathway to connecting with New Earth. And many of us have blocks to feeling our own joy. So this upcoming weekend experience we're going to do with Lift Your Light we're going to be doing a lot of things that do create that incredible positive vibration, but there will be also some deep healing around our capacity to feel joy, which I think all of us could use some help with in one way or another. So, and I know a lot of you are already coming. It's called the sorry, Jennifer, if you haven't heard about it, it's coming up, let's see here. I have it on here. It is June 27th and 28th. Is that right? I'm looking for a nod. Okay, good. June 27th and 28th. And it is on my website, anntucker.com. And they just popped in the link for you guys. And it is called the Lift Your Light Weekend. And it is going to be a very, very uplifting experience, but it will also be a deeply healing experience, helping us to come more in line with the internal experience that's going to generate these new feelings of New Earth for us. So I hope you guys can make it. It's we're going to do it. There'll be that weekend, so the 27th and the 28th, and then we're going to do a bonus follow-up, just almost like a booster shot on the back end, like a week later, to just give us another little, okay, let's bring it up just another bit, and to sustain that energy for us. So hopefully you guys can all make it. So all right. If you are ready, fantastic. I'm glad, and I know a lot of you are going to be there already, and I would just welcome anybody else who wants to join. It's going to be awesome. So this weekend, this message, if you guys are ready, shall we do it? You guys ready to dive in? Take a breath, and let's go ahead and share the message. Blessed ones, we are together once again. I bring to you good tidings, good news, good things to share. Rest yourselves, be tranquil, and I will share what I have come to share. There are new knowings that are coming for you, new awarenesses of where to begin, how to start new beginnings, as if the page has turned and you read the next sentence and you start a new start. There's something afoot for everyone, not just one, not just someone, for you, for you. A new start is coming. The horizon that you share, that you have all heard told of, can be described in a few words. It can be made something simple, something understandable to everyone. And what is coming for you next on the horizon is a new perspective through which you shall all share a belongingness to entertain how the new beginning is begun, where you shall all come together into the hearing, into the knowing, into the understanding of things differently. It shall be as if the horizon point has finally settled itself, and now your understanding can catch up and you can begin to map out where you are going. There is a freshness to the atmosphere now that is welcoming, that is enchanting, that draws you forward. And it comes from the knowledge of good tidings. It comes from the sensation that you are hearing things about the new beginning, that you are coming into context where others know it too, as if this knowledge spreads, and as it spreads, it opens doors. And as doors open, the wind passes through. And you are part of this. You are part of that early force of acceptance that draws in the new beginning. You're part of what reaches out into the world and calls it your own. As part of this new gesture, as part of this broadening of your own understanding of possibilities, I wish to extend to you now an option for yourselves to stretch your own mind and your own compass about which way you might find to go forward, about what is calling for you. Many of you feel rather empty-handed, as if you have not yet received any comprehension of which way to go. And you may even feel left out at times and wonder, is there change for you too? And I would say yes, that it has come, that the time is now, that the way forward is showing itself, that you are now meant to feel what is in kinship with your own heart. You are meant to drive a new direction and steer yourself according to the whim and the fancy of your own liking, in accordance with what speaks to you. There is a need for comprehension, yes, and this is coming, and it is, as I said, as if a page has turned and revealed the next set of data, the new things that you will come into relationship with. But the navigational point must always remain within the heart space. The space from within which you shall create tomorrow does not exist in the mind. It comes from the heart, from the wellspring of your own belongingness to each other. Thus, I would ask for you to begin to question the reality as you've created it, and to begin to understand yourselves as the center point for what is coming and what is next, to allow yourself to breathe more freely, to gift yourself a reprieve from what has been your hardship simply by remembering this truce, that you shall come into peace with what is and shall generate more peace for you. You shall come into friendship with your experiences and therefore generate a more friendly reality. Take stock of what you have accomplished, of what you have done, of where you are, and of your own energy field, of where your resources have been gathered, and how you might now drop yourself down into the sublime acceptance that you are enough, that you have enough already, whatever enough may be. And to start from there, from a statement of peace. I surrender. I surrender to what is, to what I am, to what I've created. I surrender to it. And from in this space, I shall find my joy. And there is your road. There is your pathway. It is merely in the act of the surrendering, yes, surrendering the fight and surrendering what has captured you, letting it all go and coming to peace with what is, and letting your own heart then come alive, be woken up to feel something, not a struggle, no, to feel something different, to feel an awakening, to feel something calling for you, to discover from within you where joy lies. Some of you are out of the habit of feeling joyful, and it does not come easily. For each time joy is gathered up like a treasure, you have fear that accompanies it, and it robs you from the essence of your own joy. I would say to feel this as a new start, a new beginning, however small. It can be anything. It can be one thing, two things, many things, big things, anything that stirs your heart in anticipation of something joyfully expected. And this is all you must do. Start with this. The page is turning. The page of knowledge is coming. But knowledge will not guide you, dears. Knowledge is a friend. It comes in friendship, and it will help you. But this point upon which you are gathered must come from the balm of your own joyful expectation. Stay in friendship with what is. Be at peace with what you've created, and feel into the heart what can be joyful for you. This is operative. This is creative. This is expressive. The world is changing. It is no more gone into the friendship of days where you create from what has been. It is coming now full term into the processing of your emotional state. And what comes from there becomes infinitely more powerful as a creative force. Thus, I say to you, in this gentle, gentle sentence, to ask yourself, where is your joy? And where can more joy be found? And this is all. And it does not matter if what makes you feel joy is productive, if it is not harmful to yourself or to everyone, to anyone. I would ask for you to experience this joy, to make it become apparent in how you are feeling, to pursue something, anything, just for the sake of being joyful. This is creative. This is not what you are accustomed to. It has been taught to you that only work is productive. Well, this is partially true, but not as true as it has been. And what is more important, as these times grow longer and become more concrete in your reality, is the feeling state within which you are operating. Thus, I ask for you, as the page does turn, to sink down into friendship with a heart that feels joy, and to allow yourself to express from there. And do not think about it. Simply be. Be that joyful state and let it expand from within you. This is creative. This will make a new world faster than any other work that you might be undertaking. I say bless you. Thank you. Goodbye. So beautiful. And there's some things in this message that, like, there's themes that we've been hearing all along about, release, let go, allow, be in our joy. But I feel like this message connects some very important dots and helps us to bring it into a more concrete, and maybe it's us, like maybe we've just raised our vibration enough that we are hearing the message in a new way. But I feel like this message brings a level of clarity, and it's like the time is now. Like we can start doing this right now, which is super exciting. Like that there is, and like, what is this? And I want to talk about that in depth as we break down the message. Like, what are we meant to be doing and how do we do it? and it's not hard, but it is a shift in how we are in our beingness. And that's the biggest thing. It's like a shift in being, but it is so accessible that you can dip into it in a heartbeat. That's how quick it is. And I it's so cool. And I'll tell you my two experiences that I had that were in alignment with this message, which was so cool. And so this whole thing is about is about the old way is not going to work anymore, right? That, and they've been telling us that for a while, that the old way of creating the sort of the thing that got us ahead in the past was the type A personality that was like the work hard, play hard, like you just, go, 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 go. If you do that, that's going to bring you success in our world, and success defined as usually materialism and other things, right? And in the new reality, it is not that. As a matter of fact, those old things that used to work, it's like what there's a book, it's really funny, the leadership firm that I worked at back in the day a long time ago, one of the guys that founded that firm wrote the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. and I love that phrase as a description of where we're going. Like, what got you here, the things that worked in the past won't get you there. And so, and she's saying that in this message, that the world, she says, is already changing, that this is already available to us now. And our message from last week said that the two worlds will coexist for a while. So those of us who are accustomed to doing things the old way, the type A way, whatever it is, that we can still survive a little way for, we can keep going for a while longer, but why not get ahead of the curve and shift into the new way of being now? Because it is so much more fun. It is so much easier, and it is so much more powerful. So, and I had a dream about this. It was 2 nights ago, right before receiving this message. So, the day before I received the message, I dreamt that I was sleepy. I was outdoors and I was working with a group of people, and the group of people were sort of, and it was a very like hilly, interesting terrain, almost like sand dunes. And the group of people that I was working with was sort of on the other side of this dune. And I had a pathway to get there. And then over here was where I slept, which was like in this little gully in the sand, which is like, ooh, cushy, 4 seasons. I slept in this little divot in the sand, but that was my space. And then when I would wake up in the morning, I would cross the bridge and I would go around this one sand dune, and that's where all the people were, and I would connect with everyone. And but then in my dream, I wake up. So waking up in a dream, great, because it's like waking up and seeing what's new, what's changed, seeing the new reality. So I wake up, but my bridge is now, something happened overnight and it's not there anymore. The bridge is gone. And instead, I see that the whole landscape has changed. And I am now sort of midpoint, almost like standing on the side of a cliff. And I'm realizing there's no way that I can get across safely. I can't take the old bridge. The only way to move forward is to slide down the cliff. So in the dream, that's what I do, is I slide down the cliff. So this is a metaphor. Sliding down a cliff is about being in your head. And it's telling me my old way of connecting with others, of connecting with our community, of doing my work in the world, that my head has been driving, right? Has been telling me, I've been thinking my way there. And that bridge is gone. Right? And it's not even saying like you can still scuffle by if you want. Nope, the bridge was gone. Saying it's not going to work. You got to stop doing that. The only way to do it is to slide down the cliff from the head into my heart. Even though it feels counterintuitive, because it feels like I'm going down. It feels like I'm going further away from my goal, that the dream is saying, this is your way forward. Go down the cliff from the head to the heart. And that is your path. That is how you will continue in the world. So super clear dream for me. And I absolutely sat with that and thought about that and thought about what are the ways I am being head-based and what are the ways I can start to embrace this more heart-based way of existing for myself. So then, and in this message, Isla talks about, and I'll talk about, let's start breaking it down, because I can talk about my experience this morning as we get to that part. All right, so let's talk it through. So she starts out, she says, blessed ones, we are to, and I love how informal, and I feel like this message is very, very loving and very, very gentle through the whole thing, which I'm really appreciating. I feel like it helps to say that this experience is one of softness, that this is not an experience of where they have to jangle a drum over our head. This experience we're having, all of it is an experience of softness. Blessed ones, we are together once again. I bring to you good tidings, good news, good things to share. Rest yourselves, be tranquil, and I will share what I have come to share. There are new knowings that are coming for you, new awarenesses of where to begin, how to start new beginnings, as if the page has turned and you read the next sentence and you start a new start. There is something afoot for everyone, not just one, not just someone, for you, for you. A new start is coming. So, what a great way to begin. So, first of all, there is that sense of like, what if someone is new on their path and they're just coming to this and they're saying, well, do I have to go climb the Himalaya mountains before I can be part of this shift? And she says, no, that this shift of energy is available to all of us right now. And the pathway to get there is not complicated, that it is super accessible, and that and that's one of our challenges, is thinking it's going to be harder than it is. And that's one of the things that putting it up on a pedestal makes it harder for us to access it. So she's trying to say, no, bring it right down. It is here for each and every one of us. And the other thing I like about this is she says there are new knowings that are coming for you and new awarenesses of where to start, of how to begin. So as if the page has turned. So she's starting out and she's saying, okay, that we are going to have some knowings, but the bigger thing is going to be awareness of our awarenesses. And so where does awareness come from? Like if you just kind of boil it down, awareness isn't taught in a book, right? Awareness, you don't find awareness in a Google search. Like awareness comes from input through our senses. We become aware of something because we hear, feel, see, touch, sense. So it is knowledge is coming, but there's new awarenesses are going to show us how to start, right? She says it in the very beginning here. So it is going to be this participatory experiencing of the new reality is what's going to get us there. All right, next paragraph. The horizon that you share, that you have all heard told of, can be described in a few words. It can be made something simple, something understandable to everyone. So again, take it off the pedestal. Then she says, and what is coming for you next on the horizon is a new perspective, through which you shall all share a belongingness to entertain how the new beginning is begun, where you shall all come together into the hearing, into the knowing, into the understanding of things differently. It shall be as if the horizon point has finally settled itself, and now your understanding can catch up, and you can begin to map out where you are going. So, okay, great paragraph. The first thing is she's emphasizing a new perspective, and that perspective will give us a feeling of belongingness. So, and so this relates to the experience I had this morning when I woke up, is that when I had one of those really wonderful mornings where like sometimes you wake up and you're just like, I'm awake, I'm ready to go, and you can't sleep anymore. This morning I had one of those really lazy mornings where if it hadn't been like looking forward to being here and talking with all of you, I could still be a bit because it was really like I woke up and I was in that like, oh, this is nice. I could sleep some more. And I was in that state as I'm laying there and I was awake. I was not dreaming. And I became conscious. It was almost like as I became awake, I was so peaceful in being, there was not a sense of like, I got to hurry up and get out of bed. There was not like restlessness. I was so comfortable and so peaceful that I just was so settled in being where I was that I could hear the silence. And this feeling settled over me of like, as I set down all of my busyness of a normal day, it was in that silence before anything started, I realized that lack of doing, I felt connected with everything. And it was like an awareness that the thing that prevents me from connecting with all that is my habit of doing. that sense that I get up and I'm immediately off and I'm doing something, I'm thinking about where I'm going next. In this moment, I was so at peace that there was nothing in the way to block my perception. And I could just sit there and it was so beautiful. And the challenge was I couldn't hold it for very long, right? I sat there for maybe 10 minutes. I'm like, this is amazing. And then my monkey mind jumped back in. Hello, go, blah, blah, blah. That's my monkey mind. There's so much to say. I'm like, stop talking. Lewis, quiet down. So, yeah, so it was this amazing sense. And there was so how do I even describe it? It was a feeling of connection with everything, but it wasn't like, I think this is where we put it on a pedestal. It wasn't this sense of like angels with whoa. It wasn't that. It wasn't like trumpets blaring and you've made it and you're in the oneness. It wasn't that. It was like, it was very accessible. Like, it's right there. All I got to do is stop doing. And I got to find a way to settle myself down so that I can listen, and that's it. It's right there. And I was able to get there this morning. And like I said, I could only do it for a little while, and then I was like, I got to get up. And as soon as I had a thought of doing it, was gone. And so, but it was amazing. It was a real experience, and it was real, and I felt it, and it was beautiful. And I thought, wow, if I could live in that state of being, that, and the fact that I achieved it once, I can do it. I can do it again, right? But if I could live in that state of being, I'd be floating on air all the time, because I have a sense that if I wasn't trying. I think that's the other thing, is a lot of time when I'm in meditation, I'm talking. I'm talking to my guides, I'm listening, I'm connecting. I'm not just being, usually. I'll do healing on myself and I'm kind of being, but even then I'm still in there. It's rare that I just sit and do nothing. And so, yeah, and sit in the stillness and just put down all of my everythingness. Yeah. So this was pretty amazing for me. And here's the thing. So she says in here, so it's a new perspective through which you shall all share a belongingness. And that's how I would describe it. That it felt like there was nothing between me and everything. And it wasn't like I lost the sense of my body. It wasn't like I forgot that I'm in a body. It was that there was no friction between my body and reality. Nothing was uncomfortable. Nothing was bothering me. There was zero friction points. So that's sort of the belongingness, right? Is that friction or is resistance, which makes us feel non-belonging. And it can show up as physical pain. It can show up as emotional wounds. It can show up as thinking about the random thing you did back in your 20s that, and whatever. It can show up as weird thoughts that pop in. Like, why am I thinking about that right now? So, it could be any of those things. But it is when we are able to achieve this peace, then it opens up a feeling of belongingness. And that belongingness I would describe as friction free. And that's all it is. It is not like off the pedestal. Let's take it off the pedestal and say, no, we can all do this right now. All of us can. And then she says to entertain how in the new beginning is begun. So, right, this is the idea is we can have these glimmers, these experiences like I had this morning to show us this is how we get there. This is the beginning. This is the first step we take into this new way of being. And it's available to us right now. And then she says, where you shall all come together into the hearing, into the knowing, into the understanding of things differently. So hearing, knowing, understanding, there's a sequence, right? That the hearing, it's like our perception is where we start. And that will bring in and understand the understanding. And then that will activate the knowing, right? Mind comes last. As she's showing us the order here is at first our perception, right? And we integrate that perception and that will lead us to the knowledge. But the knowledge will not get us there. So she says this here in order. We shall all come together into the hearing, into the knowing, into the understanding of things differently. It shall be as if the horizon point has finally settled itself. And now your understanding can catch up. And you can begin to map out where you are going. So the settled. So I love that word because that is what it felt like. It felt like everything in me settled. It's almost like all of our doing just creates a dust storm and it prevents us from hearing and seeing and feeling accurately. And in this moment, I was so comfortable and at ease that all the dust settled. And this awareness, it just settled over me. I didn't have to stretch for it or reach for it. It just came. It settled. And and then she says, after that, your understanding can catch up. So again, perception first, understanding or knowledge comes second. So, okay, next paragraph. There is a freshness to the atmosphere now that is welcoming, that is enchanting, that draws you forward. And I would describe it like that. That is what it felt like, a freshness to the atmosphere. It felt like waking up on a perfect day with no friction of any kind, like a freshness to the atmosphere. It felt like, yeah, totally friction free. And she said, and it was enchanting, but it was not trumpeting angels, right? It was gentle. It was soft. So it's like, I think we're just reaching for too much. We're expecting it to be bigger. It's like, no, this is within us. Like, we can do this now. And it is as wonderful as we want it to be. It's just not as hard as we expect it to be. So we soften all of our expectations, soften what we're reaching for. Stop reaching, right? That's the point. We stop reaching. So there's a freshness, right? And it's enchanting, and that draws you forward. So it's very, very gentle. And it comes from the knowledge of good tidings. It comes from the sensation that you are hearing things about the new beginning. So your perception, you're perceiving it in some way. Hearing is like, it could be hearing, feeling, touching, all the senses, that you are beginning to sense it in this way, where you're softening all your, relaxing, and you're softening. And then so this is an interesting paragraph, because she says a lot here. So first we have this experience where we get softened and we let things settle, we let the dust settle, and we open up our perception to this feeling of connection with everything. And then she says that you are coming into context where others know it too, as if this knowledge spreads. And as it spreads, it opens doors. And as doors open, the wind passes through. So this is very poetic. But what she's saying here is that as we are able to experience this new state of being, this new way of just relaxing and letting go of everything and letting this settle so that we can connect with everything, that we will connect with others naturally who are doing the same thing, that are also maintaining, even for a minute, maintaining that beautiful, relaxed state of consciousness. So we are coming into contexts where others know it too, right? And then she says, as if this knowledge spreads, and as it spreads, it opens doors. And as doors opened, the wind passes through. So this is not meant to be an individual experience, right? This is meant to be an experience that at the point of having it is this connection. It opens us up to no resistance, no friction with everything. And that then opens us up to having no friction with others who are also experiencing no friction. We come together and we open doors, and the wind passes through, right? This is the beginning of the new reality, that this new state of being helps us to start to generate the field of love that will create new earth. And then she says, and you are part of this. You are part of that early force of acceptance that draws in the new beginning. You are part of what reaches out into the world and calls it your own. So here, reaches out. Well, you're part of what reaches out into the new world. So what's important here is that this is happening from, you're not reaching out to grab something. You are reaching out to express yourself, right? It is, this new reality is not out there. It's in here. So, so you're reaching out and calling it your own. You are expressing your new state of being. So this is coming from the inside out, is what she's trying to express here. And that's how we do it, is all we have to do is hold this new state ourselves, even if it's just for 10 minutes, that's amazing. And we are expressing that out into the world, and that is helping to generate the new field of reality. Then she says, as part of this new gesture, as part of this broadening of your own understanding of possibilities, I wish to extend to you now an option for yourselves to stretch your own mind and your own compass about which way you might find to go forward. So this is where she's answering our question, how do we do it, right? We want to know, how do we do it? So here she's going to tell us, this is how you do it. This is how we be it. Right? She says, stretch your own mind and your compass about which way you might find to go forward, and about what is calling for you. And then she says, many of you feel rather empty-handed, as if you have not yet received any comprehension of which way to go. And you may even feel left out at times and wonder, is there change for you too? And so she's bringing this up several times in this passage about this idea. This is for you. This is for you. This idea that we have made it too hard, right? And that what that leads for us to feel is this sense that we're not good enough, that we're not ready, that everybody else is going to get there and we're going to be left behind. This is a fear, and fear is friction. Fear gets in the way. So we have to address it. We have to address the feeling that it's like, well, I don't know how to do it. And she's saying it's like, we're just making it way too hard. We've built it up in our minds to such a degree that we are discounting the progress that we've already made. We don't even realize that we're right here ready to do it. And then she says, and I would say, yes, that it has come, that the time is now, that the way forward is showing itself, that you are now meant to feel what is in kinship with your own heart. You are meant to drive in a new direction and steer yourself according to the whim and the fancy of your own liking, in accordance with what speaks to you. So this is, she's really trying to say, as we're now starting to talk about how to do this. And she's saying a key thing we have to think about is that everything needs to come from the heart going forward. And that she's saying the way forward is is showing itself, and you are now meant to feel what is in kinship with your own heart. So it's subtle. This experience in the beginning is not going to be trumpeting angels. It is subtle. And it is literally the sense of just setting everything down and letting the dust settle around you, and opening up to this idea that to pursue what our heart calls us to pursue. So she says there is a next paragraph. She says there is a need for comprehension. Yes, and this is coming. So we want to address it. We want the how-to for our mind. Our mind wants to solve this for us. And she says, yeah, there is a need for comprehension, and this is coming. It is, as I said, as if a page has turned and revealed the next set of data. So we will get information, but where's that data coming from, right? It's coming from the senses. She says the new things that you will come into relationship with, the next set of data is the new things you will come into relationship with. And then she says, but the navigational point must always remain within the heart space. The space from within which you shall create tomorrow does not exist in the mind. It comes from the heart, from the wellspring of your own belongingness to each other. So we have to figure this out. And even now, the words we use are mind words. We have to feel this out. That we want to solve this problem. We're like, great, this sounds great. How do I do it? It's even asking the wrong question. So she's trying to say, okay, how do I feel it? It is we have to try to solve this without trying to solve it, which is the challenge for us. How do we do this without doing? But she's saying the key is to just try to come at it from a totally new perspective, from the idea that we are navigating from the heart. And then she gets more specific here, so don't worry. And she goes on to say, and she says, don't worry, it's not that the mind is bad. She said, comprehension will come. It just comes later. It comes after the feeling state. And then she says, thus, I would ask for you to begin to question. So this is the how-to. To begin to question the reality as you've created it, and to begin to understand yourselves as the center point for what is coming and what is next. So and she's going to continue on here, but the key to this paragraph is this idea that we are so engaged in our fight with reality that we think that in order to move forward, let's say that we are fighting reality on 5 specific points of disagreement, where we think reality stinks because of these 5 things, right? I don't like this about my life, or that about my life, or this about myself. There's these 5 things that I feel like I have to resolve before my energy is pure and clean and shiny. And we're fighting these 5 things, and we're doing it in every different way we can. And she says, okay, that's actually not the way we're going to get there. She says the idea is to stop fighting, is that it's not to fix all the 5 things. It is to let go of fighting the 5 things and come to peace with them. And so what she says, and I just use 5 as a random number. It's not because everybody has 5. It's just, I just picked a number out of a hat. So she says, and to begin to understand yourselves as a center point for what is coming next. So in other words, if we let go of everything that we're fighting, we can shift our awareness to the reality that we can just change the game. Like if we don't like this game, let's say that we're playing the game of like Monopoly, and we got the bad properties, and we know it's another 2 hours of like a slow, painful death. You can just fold up the game and be like, I'm playing a new game. I want to play Battleship now. Like I'm playing something new. This game stinks. And that's what we can do. So we are now in that place where we can say, done with this game. I don't want to play it anymore. And she says that because we have the power we are the ones that are creating the reality. So she says to allow yourself to breathe more freely, to gift yourself a reprieve from what has been your hardship simply by remembering this truce. And here she says it, that you shall come into peace with what is and generate more peace for you. that you shall come into friendship with your experiences and therefore generate a more friendly reality. So she's really saying that our internal state, our relationship to our reality, how we are feeling about our reality is what is key. Are we fighting our reality or are we at peace with it? Can we come into acceptance of where we are and what's happening around us and what we're living right now? Or are we still engaged in the fight in some way? And that fight can be within, where we're fighting ourselves, where we're criticizing ourselves, where we have negative self-talk, or it can be fighting with what's outside of us, being frustrated with what's outside of us. Either one. But the truce has to be, we are trying to come to a truce with all of it. This is how we do it. This is for our brains. The how part is to come to a truce. And then she says, next paragraph, she says, take stock of what you have accomplished, of what you have done, of where you are, and of your own energy field, of where your resources have been gathered, and how you might now drop yourself down into the sublime acceptance that you are enough. So I love this. I love that she's saying, okay, yeah, take a minute and look at your life and give yourself credit for all the things that, give yourself the pat on the back for picking all those weeds, whatever it is you need to do. And look at yourself and say, yep, okay, here's my shortcomings, here's my strengths, whatever. And then just stop doing it. She says, drop yourself down, like take your assessment, do your evaluation if you want to. Look at what you've gathered. If you were talking about people measuring themselves based on money, count your money, fine. And then stop, stop doing it and drop yourself down into the sublime acceptance that you are enough. And I love that sublime, like there is a relief to this, to letting it all go, an enormous relief, right? And then she says that you have enough already, whatever enough may be. So, and that enough is defined differently by each and every one of us, right? What is it? For some people, it will be the attention of their parents. For another person, it's going to be what they earn. For another person, it's going to be friends. For another person, it's going to be clothes. For my daughter, it is Gunny Sacks dresses. So, like it's different for each person. So actually, she's moved on. It's Laura Ashley now. I correct myself. She now wants Laura Ashley dresses. If you have a whole old vintage Laura Ashley dress in your closet, let me know because my daughter wants it very, very badly. Like from the early years. She wants old Laura. I'm putting this out, a bulletin special announcement. If you have one, she has a birthday not that far away. I would be grateful. So, okay, moving on. But she is enough all by herself. She doesn't need the dresses. She has enough. That you have enough already, whatever enough may be. And to start from there, from a statement of peace. And then she says, I surrender. I surrender to what is, to what I am, to what I've created. I surrender to it. And from within this space, I shall find my joy. And there is your road, she says. There is your pathway. So it is so, I don't even want to say, it's almost like mean that it's so easy because we've been like, it's like spirit says, all you got to do is stop. And it sounds so simple. And it's like the hardest thing for us to do. And that's what it's almost like, gosh, couldn't you make it harder so we would feel bad with how bad they were struggling? Couldn't you make this more difficult to justify how hard it is? It's no, just let go, but I can't, I can't stop. So yeah, so it's a strange thing, but it's true. And so she's saying, I surrender to what is. This is what we're surrendering to. So whatever it is, and I think I have shared with you guys before this story I have. It was just a brief moment that this happened where we were having a conversation like this live, and there was somebody who dropped in the comments that their husband was in the hospital. And sometimes when I think of someone, I will immediately see their energy field. It just happens sometimes, not every time, but sometimes. And as soon as she talked about her husband in the hospital, I could see him. And I could see, and she's like, can you please, send the angels to help my husband? And I could see him in the hospital, and I could see him, and I could see right next to him was an angel. And the angel is looking at me going, like, I would love to help, but he's not letting me because he was fighting his situation. He was in resistance to what he was experiencing, and he was being in resistance. You're doing this. You're like, come at me. I'm gonna, he's fighting. How can an angel get in if we are fighting? Right? And if he could just come to peace with his situation and say, okay, I understand I'm in the hospital. I understand I'm having this physical pain, and and he has to raise his vibration into love and say, okay, I'm at peace. I'm at peace with this experience, with the pain I'm feeling. I'm at peace with this experience. I'm opening myself up to the experience that I'm having. I am okay with what is. And the minute that happens, whoosh, the energy field opens, angel comes in, good things happen, right? But angels literally, I can see the angel going, meh. Again, what am I going to do? Another woman told me this who had, if you've ever heard of IANDS, it's the International Association of Near-Death Experiences. It's an organization where they kind of gather people who had near-death experiences. The woman that started that movement lives here in Seattle, and I had her come and speak at one of my events once. She's cool, really cool lady. And she shared a story. A lot of people, when they have a near-death experience, when they come back through the veil, because they've broken through the veil, it leaves a tear in the veil, and they come back with spiritual gifts. And that doesn't mean don't go just like OD on something just to open the veil. Bad idea. But people who have planned this as part of their life experience, it tears the veil, and they come back with certain spiritual gifts activated. And she could see angels sometimes. And she talked about one time she was on the freeway, and she looks over at this guy in the car next to her, and he's sitting there, and he's like super aggressive driver, pounding the steering wheel and, cursing at the guy in front of him and tailgating. And she could see his poor angel sitting next to him, just completely unable to make an impact. And the angel looks over at her and goes, you know what I mean? Yeah, this is what he's doing. And the angels just along for the ride and can't make it, can't help, can't do anything because the guy's fighting his reality. So yeah, it's so funny. But so this is that idea that it is not easy for us to surrender our fight. But that is the pathway forward. She says that there is your road, right? I surrender to what is, to what I am, to what I've created. And sometimes we've created amazing things, and sometimes we created really sucky things, right? And that's okay. And it's not that we do it on purpose. It comes from some wound inside of us that we are not present to, that we don't feel or see necessarily, but there it is in our reality, right? I surrender to it. And from within this space, I shall find my joy. And it is literally from the process of stopping fighting. It's not that we have to love what we don't like. We don't. All we have to do is stop fighting it, because the fight is creating the dust, which prevents us from opening up our senses to experience the joy, the magic that's all around us. So, and that's the challenge. We keep thinking we have to win the fight or solve the fight or fix the fight. No, we don't. We just have to set it down. There is your pathway. It is merely in the act of surrendering. Yes, surrendering the fight and surrendering what has captured you. Right? Letting it all go and coming to peace with what is. And then she says, and letting your own heart then come alive, be woken up to feel something, not a struggle, no, to feel something different. So this is really important, because in this process, healing is one thing, and healing is a very important process, and it is for other reasons that we want to heal. Healing teaches our soul. Healing gives our soul, it expands our soul, and we want to expand our soul as much as we can. That is why we came to earth, is to expand our soul, and we expand our soul through healing. But you can access this higher state of being even if you have not fully healed yet. So, and I'm not saying give up on your healing, because the healing is the brass ring. You heal, your soul grows, you hold more love, and you carry that with you forever, as in the infinite forever, as in your soul's eternal self. That's healing. That's good. You want that. Heal as much as you can. But you can also, as you're going through this, you can also reach this more beautiful state of consciousness. So do both is the thing. Do both. So, but what she's trying to say here is that we are learning, and this is a lot of what we do in Soul Convergence, is we learn techniques to learn how to heal. And that is a process of learning to feel our feelings, of trying to bring them up and process them through. And she's saying this is something different. So when we're trying to achieve this state of openness, this state of connection with all that is, we're saying she's letting your stopping resistance and letting your heart come alive and woken up to feel something. It's not the same thing that we do when we're trying to process our feelings, because processing our feelings is letting them move through us so that they can leave the body so that we can let go of the emotion and hold the experience and the learning, which expands our soul. This is not that. So she's saying that when you're setting things down and coming to peace with what is, you're not opening your heart to try to feel the wounds, because then you're engaging back in the fight, right? This is not the time for that. The time for that is when you're engaged in processing your feelings and engaged in healing. When you're trying to settle the dust and trying to connect with all that is, you're not trying to engage in feeling your wounds. She says, no, this is something different. It's not to feel the struggle. It is to feel something. It is to feel an awakening, to feel something calling for you, to discover from within you where your joy lies. So it makes sense that, especially as we become, our state of consciousness grows, that we will be able to direct our awareness in different ways. And we will be able to say, in this moment, I'm having feelings occur, I'm having feelings come up, or I'm experiencing struggle in my life. I'm going to engage in healing now, and I'm going to feel those feelings so that I can process and expand my soul. And after I have felt those feelings and I've come to peace with that experience, now I'm going to connect with all that is. And how do I connect with all that is? I let go of everything, and I open my field, and I let the dust settle, and I let my heart open to this feeling of awakening. Two different states, two different ways to navigate in your own heart space. And I think it's important to kind of point that out, because they're both super important skills of navigating from the heart. To feel something different, to feel an awakening, to feel something calling for you, to discover from within you where your joy lies. So, and I like that she's saying that we have to discover where our joy lies, because we don't always know, like I think one of the most common questions I hear from people, what they want to know is like, what is my life purpose? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? And I think it is that sense that we have a very difficult time with connecting to our heart, and the heart is what's meant to tell us what we're meant to do. But we are hoping for some external direction because we cannot find the pathway to our own heart. And so finding that joy is not easy. And she says, some of you are out of the habit of feeling joyful, and it does not come easily. For each time joy is gathered up like a treasure, you have fear that accompanies it, and it robs you from the essence of your own joy. I would say to feel this is a new start and new beginning, however small. So, and we talked about this before, but this is, I think, such an important point about this idea that we have a really hard time of feeling our own joy. And I don't know, some of you will resonate with this. There are some people that feel like whenever things are going too good, that idea that it's too good and the other shoe is going to drop, right? Like, oh, wow, it's like, okay, all these good stuff is happening. Now I'm going to get hit by a car, watch out, like something's because it's too good. It can't last, and that is such a common feeling. And I see you wincing. Yes. Like, yes, it is so common. And so it brings in, we feel the joy and immediately we feel fear. And it's a little bit like, my story of like me being in college and feeling joy, and then having someone make me feel ashamed for feeling joy. And then or me being a little girl in the back of the car and my sister saying, nobody likes a bragger, because I was bragging about, oh, I went to Disneyland. It was fun. I was all joyful. I was too happy. And they couldn't match that vibration. And so they had to take me down a peg. And so that's where we get, and I think it's so common. But yeah, so we have joy, it comes up, and then we're like, oh no, I got too much joy, something bad's gonna happen. And we have fear that comes in, and it robs us of the essence of our joy. And she would say, so how do we start? She says, I would say, feel this. It is a new start, a new beginning, however small. So start small. And this, again, takes it off the pedestal. The idea that it has to be this great, big, grand thing. Take it off the pedestal. Start with something little. She says, it can be anything. It could be one thing, two things, many things, big things. It can anything, she says, that stirs your heart. It sounds like Dr. Seuss, doesn't it? Red fish, blue fish. It totally sounds like Dr. Seuss. But anything that stirs your heart in anticipation of something joyfully expected. And this is all you must do. Start with this. So it is literally anything that you can look forward to. that when you think about it, it makes you happy. So like this morning, it got me out of bed. I'm like, oh, it's going to be fun, super fun to share this message today. And boom, or maybe it will be like today, I'm going to wear that new shirt that I bought that I'm excited to wear because it's super cool. And that gives you that little spark of like, hey, happy. So it could be a little thing, right? It'd be a little thing. Maybe you've, made some extra, you baked something and you're going to go give it to your neighbor and you're excited that, okay, you're exciting, anticipating that, yeah, I got to go share this that I made, whatever it is. And it's the anticipation that can we dwell in that state of being, of anticipating something joyful, right on the edge. It's almost like riding the wave of joy, like you're right on the edge of excited anticipation. So here's a very, very interesting thing that I learned back in the day when I was doing this when I was a leadership coach, and I was focused on decision making and learning about how decisions affect us. And it was about how we experience joy. And it was, I mean, there was many layers to this, but we can apply it to how we experience joy. Is that if you look at humor, for example, and if someone is about to watch, say there's a comedy that you've watched or that you've seen before, a movie, and someone is thinking about watching it again, the experience of anticipating it, you actually, if you could measure it, they actually get more joy from the anticipation than they do from actually watching the movie. It activates their brain in the same way, but for a longer period. So another example of this, and this is where the study came from, is like studying people who are going to take a trip. That the longer the window is that you are anticipating the trip, the more total amount of joy you get from the trip. That the anticipation is stronger than the trip itself. And especially if you build your anticipation. So like one of the things that I talk about my mom a lot today. My mom's cool, but I'm talking about there's another mom story. Something my mom did when I was a kid that I look at now and I think that was brilliant, is that she would be excited about going on a trip and she would start packing for her trip like 2 weeks early, and she'd have her suitcase out and Denise's like, me too. She'd have her suitcase out and she would be, pulling out her favorite things, and she would shop for something new to put in the suitcase, and she'd have her guidebook and she'd be doing all the things, and she'd be living that trip for weeks before she went. Right. And think about all that joyful expectation that she milked out of that trip. And that's where that's where we want to be, is we want to be in that state of joyful anticipation. I think this is like the easiest access point that we can get. Like this is a lovely, accessible key that we can take advantage of to help us to reach this more pleasant state of consciousness where we drop our resistance to our world. So if we can think about our day, what can I joyfully anticipate? Even if it's a little thing, like, oh, I really want to go back and get that amazing, I want to go to Bainbridge Island and get this one banh mi tofu sandwich. So flippin' good. But that's further away. So I'm just going to think about the iced coffee that I had the other day. Bainbridge Island's kind of far. So I'm just going to go and I'm thinking about, I'm going out today and I'm going to get myself that iced coffee that was like so good. And I'm going to think about that as I'm driving through my whole day. I'm like, iced coffee, I'm just going to sit there and think about it. Or I'm going to in the car, I'm going to play this super cool podcast. Oh, so I'm so chatty today, you guys. I'm sorry. But I get excited. I'm starting to think about all the things I'm excited about. So you guys know I'm an insane Jane Austen fan. Like, I love Jane Austen. There's a brand new series that just came out on BritBox, which is called The Other Bennet Sister. And it's all about Mary and her experience. If you watch Pride and Prejudice, she was like the only sister that didn't have, she was the brainy sister wore the spectacles. And so she was anyways, the whole series is based around her. And I've been waiting to watch this series for months, and it finally came out, and I've been binging it. I confess, it's been phenomenal. But the anticipation, and I probably could have milked that anticipation a lot more, right? I could have done more things in that window where I was waiting for it to come to the U.S. because they played it in over there first, in England first. But I had to I should have done more in that time period. To think about it. I should have ways I could have really built that for myself. I could have made a watch party with friends who were also into it. I could have been, let's all do it together. I could have had someone over to watch it with me. There's so many things I could have done that would have built the expectation and the anticipation and the enjoyment of it. And it's not a thing that we want to build up our expectations to a height where we get disappointed, right? Like that happens like when you go to see a movie and you have really high expectations and then it's like wah wah and then you don't enjoy it. It's like we want to place our joy in our state of being, like in like the idea that we're going to be with others and enjoy the anticipation for itself, for the idea that the anticipation, even if the end result isn't as good as you hoped, you still got a whole lot of joy out of anticipating it. That is absolutely still valid. Even if I was so excited to watch the show and I built it up and I built it up and then I got there and I'm like, it was just okay. That does not take away from the 6 weeks of anticipation that I got to enjoy. So the point is, what can we use in our life to build this state of lovely anticipating our life to be joyful? Of lovely, and it's not like so excited that we can't breathe. It's like this very gentle, like, oh, I'm looking forward to this today. Right? This is going to be fun in my day today. A little thing. Today I'm excited to go out and see if my peonies have opened. That's a fun thing. And I think I'm going to sit there and I'm thinking about it. I'm going to let myself wait an hour and just be like, oh, I can't wait. I wonder. And then I'm going to go out and see and see if they opened, And yeah, so that's the idea. This is a pathway for us, is what she's trying to describe. So, and I've totally lost my place now because I went on a tangent in a big way. So, the world is changing. Let's see, this is opera. Where was I, you guys? Holy moly. And I think I did this. Thus I say to you with this gentle, gentle sentence. Did I read that already? Give me a nod if I read that already. Anybody? Did I already read that? I don't know. See, where is I? Give me a minute. I'll see if I can find it. No, it wasn't there. I was up here. It could be anything, right? Anticipation of something joyfully expected. And this is all you must do. Start with this. That's where I was. And then she says, the page is turning. The page of knowledge is coming. But knowledge will not guide you, dears. Knowledge is a friend. It comes in friendship and it will help you. But this point upon which you are gathered must come from the balm of your own joyful expectation. So this is that idea that we were just talking about. And so that the idea that joy comes first, opening up to our joy, and we open up our senses, experiencing things at a sensory level, and then we will make sense of it down the road. We will understand how this works after we've done it. And then she says, stay in friendship with what is. Be at peace with what you've created, and feel into the heart what can be joyful for you. So there's two pieces to this, right? We have this whole conversation we've had about joyful expectations. But there's also the idea of being at peace with what is. So a joyful expectation that would not work would be the expectation that your friend is going to bring you a killer birthday gift, right? Because that is setting up that's not being at peace with what is. Because we want to be at peace with however our friend behaves. Or what if your friend shows up and they forgot your birthday? We want to be at peace with that. So it is this idea of how do you balance these two things? How can you be at peace with what is, and then also have joyful expectations in your day, right? It is to feel joy for the sake of feeling joy, that your joy is not hinging upon what happens, that you are feeling joy because you're in a state of expecting your life to be joyful. And if the joy doesn't show up in one particular thing, it'll show up somewhere else. But we can think through the day and think of, I bet you that's going to be joyful. But if it turns out not to be joyful, something else will. And then you move on, you let go, you're at peace with whatever shows up. And so it's these two sort of one step, two step, right? Exist in a state of joyful anticipation while also being at peace with what is, expecting more joy all the time. So, and she said, this point upon which you have gathered, it must come from the balm of your own joyful expectation. Stay in friendship with what is. Be at peace with what you've created and feel into the heart what can be joyful for you. And then she says, this is operative. This is creative. This is expressive. So in other words, when we do this, we are creating our reality in a much more powerful way than we ever have before, because we're holding a very specific vibration, which is a vibration that when the dust is settled, what that means is that the vibration of our joy comes out into the world, our heart expands into the world, and it generates more joyful experiences. It generates at a higher vibration. So she says that doing this brings the heart online as a creator. That we have been doing so much constricting of our heart from our head. Our head says, okay, heart, you can only create things that I'm expecting, that I've had in the past, that I am dictating. It has to show up this way. When we set all that down and we just say, no, I'm just going to try to ride this crest of this wave that is joy, moving through my day, being at peace with whatever is and expecting joy. If we can manage that, we are creating from a much more powerful state of presence. She says, this is operative, this is creative, this is expressive. And then she says, the world is changing. It is no more gone into the friendship of days where you create from what has been. In other words, creating from our karma. She says, letting go of that. We're letting go of creating from our karma. It is now coming full term into the processing of your emotional state, and what comes from there becomes infinitely more powerful as a creative force. So the felt expression, when we allow our heart to express fully, it is 10 times more powerful as a creator. Which is why, if you've ever experienced instant manifestation, like that's where it's coming from. She says, thus, I say to you in this gentle, gentle sentence to ask yourself, where is your joy? And where can more joy be found? And this is all. And it does not matter if what makes you feel joy is productive. Yep, that one's for me. If it is not harmful to yourself or to everyone or to anyone, she says, I would ask for you to experience this joy. So she just put the caveat, like if your joy comes at someone else's expense, it's not good. So, but it needs to be like, as long as your joy is not harmful to anybody or to yourself, then I would ask for you, she says, I would ask for you to experience this joy, to make it become apparent in how you are feeling, to pursue something, anything, just for the sake of being joyful. So doing the dumb thing, doing the wasteful thing, doing the thing that you're just doing it because it sounds fun, and going for it, because the joy, what we think of like it's wasteful, right, is actually much more creative than the productive thing. Right? So spending the day having fun, and it's not to say that we never have to do work again. Of course, there has to be a balance in our process of creation, but ideally we can do that work from a place of joy. She says, this is creative. This is not what you are accustomed to. It has been taught to you that only work is productive. Well, this is partially true, but not as true as it has been. And what is more important as these times grow longer and become more concrete in your reality is the feeling state within which you are operating. And I would say that that is a reflection of a concept of work, that work is not in and of itself difficult at all. Like anything that you have to do, whatever you have to do is not hard. The only thing that makes it hard is our resistance to doing it. Like the only reason taxes are hard is because we hate to do it. And so we resist it, and our resistance is painful. And so there are things that you have procrastinated about for the longest time, and because it was like, and then it just feels so hard to get yourself to do it, right? And then you finally sit down and do it, and it takes you 10 minutes. And you know this, right? And you're like, I just spent a month like just sweating over having to do this. And then you finally sit down and do it. So the work itself was never hard. The only thing that was hard, the work, right, was your resistance. That was it. That was the only thing that made it work. So when we talk about how do we create in the future, like it is work as we've defined it is resistance. We define work as things we don't want to do. And that it's hard because it makes it work because you got to strap yourself to your desk and put in a certain number of hours and punch your time clock, and it's work, and we have resistance and we force ourselves through the resistance, and this is work. In the new reality, we will do work, but we will do it from a place of joyful expectation that the work is going to be fun. So I will tell you, I love my work. And there are times that I have to do things that are hard, right? I still have to do my taxes. I still have to, like writing the book was not always easy, but I would come into it with a sense of joyful expectation because I knew I would be in connection with Isla, and that would be amazing. And I would listen to myself when I needed to get up and take a break because that felt joyful. And and so it's this idea of, can we engage in everything, including work, in a new way? Can we see work as a process of expressing and experiencing joy? Yes, if we are not in resistance to the work, we can. So, but we've been taught that it only counts if it's painful, right? The harder it is, the more credit we get. Oh, I walked up, to school uphill both ways in the snow, and that makes me better. Like that's us. That's what we think. And that's not how it's meant to be. Well, this is partially true, but is not as true as it has been. And what is more important as these times grow longer and become more concrete in your reality is the feeling state from which you are operating. Thus, she says, I ask for you, as the page does turn, to sink down into friendship with a heart that feels joy and to allow yourself to express from there. And do not think about it, simply be. Be that joyful state and let it expand from within you. This is creative. This will make a new world faster than any other work that you might be undertaking. I say bless you, thank you, and goodbye. Yeah, very cool message. Very cool message. And yeah, and it was really, really fun to read it this morning and to understand. Of course, I channeled it yesterday and had no idea what it was about. And but reading it this morning, and it was so cool that I read it, or that I understood it after I had my morning experience, because now I feel like I have an embodied experience of what she's trying to show me and to show all of us. And then to have had the dream the night before showing me, like, here she says at the end, that where she says it is, where's the last line? How did I get that mixed up? Last line, she says that she would to sink down into friendship with the heart that feels joy. So that's like my dream, sliding down the side of the cliff right into the heart and showing me this is the way to navigate. This is the way to move forward in all ways going forward, that it will be faster, easier, more fun. It makes sense when we can take resistance out of the picture. It's like anything, like work. If you feel no resistance to work, like watch children when they work, like they are, if like a child gets the opportunity to help you do what we consider to be a mundane task, the child is excited to do it. You know, they're unloading the dishwasher and it's like, I'm unloading the dishwasher. You know, they're happy. They're excited to be doing it. And it is, to them, it's not work, right? They don't see it as work, and that, you know, they feel validated and included and important, and they feel happy and they're joyful about doing it. But we think of it like, so it's not the work. The work is never hard. It is us. It is our resistance. So all we got to do, right? I love that. I feel like she broke it down in a really beautiful way, which is this idea of how do we achieve it? Again, like I said, different from the healing state, also critical in terms of, not critical, like you can go through a whole life and not heal anything. And a lot of people do, but why would you miss that opportunity? Why would you miss the opportunity to expand your soul in the most expanding place in the universe, which is Earth? So healing, important, but different. This is about how do we navigate daily, trying to stay in this new frequency of being. And we do it through this concept of trying to embrace our expectation, our joyful expectation, while also being at peace with what is, with ourselves and all things, and dropping anywhere we're in a fight, to drop the fight, to just let it go, to say it doesn't matter if anybody. It's had this conversation. Was it the last 2 days? Whatever. There's an app or like a mailing list or an app called Nextdoor. And I've gotten on it because I think, well, down the road, community is going to be important, and I would like to get to know my neighbors. So I joined this Nextdoor app, and I think it's actually the one I'm on is much larger than my immediate neighborhood. I wish it was more specific. I think it's a very large area. And someone put a post on there that I would normally not comment on. It was it was a local initiative. And I had a perspective on it because I grew up in a place where they passed an initiative like it, and I saw some negative effects. So I left a comment and said, yeah, I can. And this person was like giant red exclamation points, like, here comes this thing. We all have to vote for it. And I just said, hey, here's another perspective. I was living in a place that had this similar initiative, and it passed, and it didn't turn out so great. So just something to consider. And this person, comes back and like says, well, I was there, I lived there, and it wasn't good, and it was great, and so she's ready to fight it out. And I was like, okay, I just shared a perspective, and I said, it's probably a good idea to see all sides, and you could look at other states and see other long-term, implications of this, but I'm willing to like just let that go and let her have a fight if she wants to, but she's not going to be fighting me because I'm not there. She can fight someone else if she wants to. But I have said what I felt like I needed to say, and I feel clear and clean about that. And I can just now let go, and I don't even need to open it again to see if anybody else commented. I don't care. I just wanted to say what I wanted to say, and there it is. And so it's this idea of just letting go of the rope, letting it go. Doesn't matter. We don't have to fight. Yeah. So, you guys, thank you so, so much for sharing the message with me today. I'm so grateful. And I feel like I had new awarenesses come in as we were talking. It definitely landed more deeply for me. So, I hope it did for you too. Sending you tons of love. And I'll see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys.